Young Messi sat alone in the locker room, hearing mocking voices echoing from the hallway. But what he did when he stepped onto the field left those same voices speechless and silenced them forever. It was a busy training day at Barcelona's La Masia Academy in the fall of 2003. In the early morning hours, 16-year-old Lionel Messi had quietly entered the facilities. Like other young players, he was filled with dreams. But there was one difference. Everyone saw him differently. Among the young players putting on their jerseys in the locker room, Messi stood out for his height. At 5 feet 7 inches, he was noticeably shorter than his peers. But that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was how the senior team players looked at him. "Look at that little guy," whispered one of the senior team players passing by in the hallway, deliberately keeping his voice loud. "I don't understand how this kid gets to wear a Barcelona jersey." Messi lowered his head, focusing on tying his shoelaces. His fingers were trembling, but he tried not to let anyone notice. His ears were burning, his heart racing. These mocking voices had become part of his daily routine. "Even Ronaldinho doesn't notice him," added another player, laughing. "He acts like he doesn't exist. Maybe he really doesn't." The atmosphere in the locker room had grown tense. None of the young players dared to intervene. Everyone was intimidated by the senior team players. Messi stood up, slung his bag over his shoulder, and quietly headed for the door. As he walked down the hallway, the laughter and comments from behind echoed in his ears. "Maybe you should go home instead of training, little man," someone shouted. "The kindergarten entrance is on the other side." Messi stopped and took a deep breath. Tears were beginning to well up in his eyes, but he wouldn't let them fall. His father's words came to mind. "Son, greatness isn't measured by your height, it's measured by how big your heart is." When he stepped onto the training field, the scene was the same as always. Coach Frank Rijkaard was busy with other matters. The senior team players were casually working with the ball among themselves. He quietly began warming up on the small field reserved for young players. Other young players were starting to arrive too. Among them were Carlos, Miguel, and David. They were also distant toward Messi, but at least they weren't mocking him. "Messi, how are you today?" Carlos asked, but his voice wasn't sincere. "I'm fine," Messi replied quietly. When the warm-up exercises began, Messi threw himself into working with the ball. The ball began to dance under his feet. Even the seemingly simple moves he performed with such grace that viewers were mesmerized. But no one openly admitted this. Suddenly, familiar footsteps could be heard approaching the field. Ronaldinho, Barcelona's biggest star, was walking toward the small field with that characteristic smile of his. Messi's heart raced. He had been admiringly watching Ronaldinho for months, but they had never had a chance to talk. "Little buddy," Ronaldinho said, his voice warm and genuine, "would you like to work with me for a bit?" All eyes around them turned their way. The players who had just been mocking him watched in amazement. The young players also stopped and watched this unexpected development. Messi nodded in agreement, but he still hesitated. "Don't worry," Ronaldinho whispered, crouching down next to Messi. "Let's just have fun. Soccer is for fun, right?" Ronaldinho threw the ball to Messi. This wasn't a simple pass. It was a testing pass. When the young player received the ball, it was as if time had stopped. On his first touch, he controlled the ball perfectly, then sent it back to Ronaldinho with an unexpected move. The Brazilian star smiled. "Nice. Now show me what you can do." Messi put his hesitation aside and began to move. His feet guided the ball like magic. Right, left, back, forward. The ball seemed glued to his feet. Every touch was perfect, every movement fluid. "Wow," Ronaldinho murmured, genuinely impressed. "What kind of thing is this?" The senior team players had now stopped their own training and begun watching them. The mocking tone from earlier had given way to amazement. "Who is that kid?" one of them asked. "Messi, Argentine," another replied. "But I never knew he was this good." Ronaldinho began suggesting more difficult moves to Messi. "Try this," he said, demonstrating a complex dribbling move. After seeing the move once, Messi repeated it perfectly. Not only did he repeat it, but he also added his own unique touches. "I can't believe it," Ronaldinho whispered. "You're naturally gifted." The harmony between the two was mesmerizing. Ronaldinho passed, Messi received and returned from unexpected angles. Every movement was a work of art. Everyone on the field was now watching them. Even Coach Rijkaard had begun to approach. "Who is this kid?" he asked his assistant. "Lionel Messi, coach. Argentine young player." "I've never seen him like this before," Rijkaard said, not taking his eyes off Messi. Messi was beginning to gain confidence. With Ronaldinho's encouragement, he began making bolder moves. At one point, he lifted the ball into the air and kept it on his foot 3 times in a row, then sent it back to Ronaldinho with a magnificent volley. Applause filled the field. But it wasn't just from the spectators. It was also coming from the senior team players. "Where has this kid been hiding?" asked one of the captains. Messi prepared for his final move. Ronaldinho told him to shoot at the goal from 25 meters away. The young player took the ball, stepped back a few paces, and held his breath. The shot came. The ball traced a perfect parabola in the air and went into the goal just past the post. The sound could be heard from everywhere on the field. Complete silence. Then thunderous applause. Ronaldinho ran and hugged Messi. "Buddy, you're special. Very, very special." The senior team players began approaching one by one. The player who had mocked him the most approached with his head bowed in shame. "I'm sorry, kid," he said, his voice completely different now. "I didn't know you. I didn't know you could play like this." The others also approached one by one. Mockery had given way to respect, contempt to admiration. "Would you like to train with us?" asked the team captain. "You really need to work with us." Messi smiled. For the first time, he felt this confident. "Of course," he said, his voice now clearer and more confident. Everything changed from that day on. Messi was no longer the little man. Everyone knew his name and spoke it with respect. In the hallways, mocking voices had given way to applause. When returning to the locker room after training, the atmosphere was completely different. The same players were greeting him. "Great training, Messi," they said. "Will you work with us tomorrow too?" The situation among the young players had also changed. Carlos, Miguel, and David now really wanted to be friends with him. "Messi, would you teach us those moves too?" Carlos asked, this time sincerely. Before Messi left, Ronaldinho approached him. "Listen, little buddy," he said, placing his hand on his shoulder. "What I saw today is just the beginning. You're going to do great things. But never forget, stay humble, keep working, and always remember that soccer is for fun." Messi nodded. "Thank you, Ronaldinho. This means a lot to me." "No," said the Brazilian star with a smile. "I'm the one who should be thanking you. You reminded me of the real magic of soccer." Messi was smiling as he headed home. Sitting on the bus looking out the window, he thought about that day. Sometimes when people look down on you, it actually gives you greater motivation. That day on the field, he hadn't just played soccer. He had proven himself. That night, he called his mother. "Mom," he said excitedly, "I had an amazing day today. Ronaldinho trained with me." He could feel the pride in his mother's voice. "Son, I always knew you were special. We were just waiting for the right time to come. And this was just the beginning, because that little boy would one day become the world's greatest soccer player." What he showed on the field that day was just a small taste of the great things he would do in the future. Years later, when Messi became famous worldwide, he still remembered that day. And whenever he met young players, just like Ronaldinho had done for him, he never forgot to give them a chance too, because he knew that sometimes the biggest stars come in the smallest packages. If this story touched you, don't forget to hit that like button below. Share your favorite Messi moment in the comments and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Which soccer player's story would you like to hear? This story is entirely fictional and does not reflect real events. It is prepared for entertainment purposes only and has no relation to real people and events.